We are back in all of the ways. And while we were coming back from the Citrus Bowl in Florida, Kyle Whittingham assembled a hell of a staff. Let's get into it. On this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Lowell, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. Thank you to all of our everydayers who watch or listen to the show every single day. Also, big thank you for making us your first listen. Do appreciate that. We're going to jump right into Kyle Whittingham's new staff, giving overarching thoughts on the group as a whole in segment 1. Then we'll get into upsides and potential downsides in segment 2. Segment 3, what I would have done differently. So let's go through what we know. I know I'm missing one or two people. I think there's a special teams person that I'm missing here. But nonetheless, I think there's 13. I don't have this numbered. 13 hires here. So let's just run through the group here that everyone that has been assembled. Offensive coordinator Jason Beck, who comes from Utah. Retention of Michigan running backs coach Tony Alford. Offensive line Jim Harding via Utah. Quarterbacks Coy Detmer Jr. via Utah. Wide receivers Micah Simon via Utah. Assistant wide receivers Marques Hagans via Penn State. Tight ends Freddie Whittingham via Utah. Defensive coordinator, so that's the whole offensive staff. Defensive coordinator Jay Hill via BYU. Retaining Lou Esposito for the defensive line. Edge rushers Lewis Powell via Utah. Linebackers Alex Whittingham via the Kansas City Chiefs. Safeties Tyler Stockton via Boise State. Cornerbacks or defensive backs, not really sure there. Gennaro Guilford via BYU. And special teams retaining Michigan legend Kerry Combs as special teams coordinator. All right. So there's a lot to like. There's some places that I have some questions, all kinds of things as far as it pertains to this staff. Number one, he said he was going to, Kyle Whittingham said he was going to keep somewhere between 2 and 3 Michigan staffers. He did exactly that. 2 guys who have been around for the 2 years of Sharon Moore. 1 guy who was around for 2 days or 3 days of Sharon Moore. But obviously, I mean, if that was an audition from Kerry Combs, I mean, he passed it with flying colors. Special teams was a weapon against Texas. And he was only on the job for 3 weeks? That's huge. But yeah, you look at a lot of these things. Jason Beck has been absolutely incredible with the offense. Where he's only been a coordinator for 3 years. Same with Jay Hill, but Jay Hill has like a decade-ish worth of head coaching experience. He's been an assistant level coach for multiple years. Both coordinators I think are very, 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 very good. Jason Beck, it's going to be interesting to see with with just kind of how things end up going here, right? Like run first, absolutely. But still, like, you see what Devin Dampier was able to do. I'm going to look it up here just because I don't want to just sit here and talk out of both sides of my mouth here. You look at what Devin Dampier was able to do this year. As far as passing is concerned, it wasn't like he was going absolutely nuts. He still did better than Bryce to some degree. 2,490 yards. If you want to compare that, because of course I don't have that pulled up right offhand because I'm improvising here. Bryce passed for 24-28, so just slightly better. Devin had a little bit better of a passing percentage. Bryce attempted one more pass in one more game, by the way, than Devin Dampier did. And Devin Dampier had a 63.5% passing total, but 24 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I mean, Michigan doesn't really pass like that with those passing touchdowns. Interesting in and of itself. Ultimately, the passers had 27 passing touchdowns and the 5 interceptions. So by looking at converse here, 11 and 10. Bryce had 11 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. 3 obviously in that last game that really made that stand out. But you have that along with Devin Dampier being the second highest rusher, 146 carries for 835 yards, 5.72, 10 touchdowns there. They had 41 touchdowns on the ground. So Michigan had 11 touchdowns passing and 33 touchdowns on the ground in an offense that was significantly better than it was a year ago. So that tells you a lot about what they're able to do in terms of being able to score and to move the chains and do all these things. So Utah had the number 4 scoring offense in the country. Michigan was kind of middling as far as memory serves here. I haven't looked after Texas, but Michigan was 69th in the country, averaging 27.5 points per game. Utah averaged 41.3. Jason Beck, his first year at Syracuse was then he was amazing at New Mexico, and then he was incredible once he got to also Utah as well. Obviously, we know about Tony Alford. Savion Hyder's on campus. Tony Alford, incredible recruiter, despite what they say in Columbus. I mean, he got Travion Henderson to commit without seeing anything. And yet, they got J.K. Dobbins, and they sit there and say with a straight face he wasn't a very good recruiter. Okay. Anyway, Jim Harding. Some are saying that he's the best offensive line coach in the country. So it kind of becomes almost surprising when you see, and we'll have another episode today on the transfers, but just to see a couple starters in the portal, because it's just kind of like, bro, do you want to be developed like this guy? I mean, he was the head coach at Troy High School for several years, so he knows the state of Michigan. He's originally from Maumee. He's got great experience. I can't speak with very much clarity on a lot of the other guys here offensively, but like Micah Simon has done obviously a very good job with the guys at Utah. Coy Detmer Jr. I think is going to be an analyst. Assistant wide receivers Marques Hagans, who comes from Penn State, raved about, and Freddie Whittingham, extremely good when it comes to to what he's been able to do with tight ends. Dalton Kincaid and some of those. I know some people are starting to look, nepotism. Like, listen, like these guys can coach. Right. Same thing with Alex Whittingham, who is the linebackers coach, comes from having spent 9 years with the Kansas City Chiefs, 7 years. I can't remember exactly. I think he started in 2018. So 7 years, I think, with the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, like, this isn't like, oh, yeah, I'm going to elevate my son who's never done anything. Right. Like, this is a guy who's got some Super Bowl rings. Jay Hill, I'm really excited to see what he does. Not markedly different from the McDonald Minter Martindale experiences. His numbers are kind of like Martindale, but it's kind of one of those things like you wonder what this looks like with higher caliber players. That's going to be a really interesting thing, and just across the board. These guys have done more with less. What do they look like when they've got higher caliber players? Great to retain Lou Esposito. I do want to see more from that defensive tackle position, but now you have him with Lewis Powell, who's done an excellent job with the edge rushers. We'll see if that Haley dude comes from Utah, who's in the portal. I would bet against. I'd not bet against that, I would say. And then to have like the experience. Tyler Stockton was the latest ad from Boise State, co-defensive coordinator at Boise State, was in the college football playoff, multi-year Broyles Award finalist. That's a huge gain. And like someone like Gennaro Guilford, it's funny because like I look up every other year, Utah had one of the, BYU with him there had one of the, like a top 20 pass defense. And then every other year it was bad. But then when you look at like how BYU people are reacting, that says a lot more about anything. BYU people are like, man, this isn't good. This is terrible. We didn't want to lose this guy. That usually speaks a lot, I think. And then obviously we talked about Kerry Combs. So I think that like all in all, this is really interesting. It'll be interesting to see who ends up being the top of line guys, the guys who can go out and recruit, and who ends up being, because like it doesn't matter anymore. That's the amazing thing. You can just keep bringing guys in. You can just keep on adding people. I want a slot receivers coach, right? Like you can just keep adding people, and you can go out and get like Brian Hartline. I mean, obviously that's not happening. I'm just saying, hypothetically you could do that. All right. Let's get into the upsides and potential downsides of what I think this staff is. We're going to do that here in just a moment. But before we do, let's talk about something most men don't bring up, but absolutely should. Stress from work, money, life. It doesn't just switch off at, oh man, it does not switch off at night. When it shows up the worst possible time. Rouge Get Ready is designed to help you take back control. Rouge Get Ready is a next generation prescription treatment created to support both the brain and the body so you can feel present, confident, and ready when the moment matters. Rouge Get Ready combines these 3 clinically proven ingredients in one mint that dissolves under your tongue so it absorbs fast. The science behind Rouge Get Ready stands out. 3 clinically proven ingredients in one formula designed for both mental and physical readiness. You connect with a board-certified doctor online and everything ships discreetly to your door. It's easy to understand why over 150,000 men have already made the switch. So if you've been thinking about taking that next step, now is the time. Head to rougeget.com/lockedoncolleges, RUGIET.com/lockedoncolleges. Get 15% off your order for a limited time. Rouge Get Ready. Feel present, feel confident, feel ready. Thank you for making Locked On Wolverines your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today. You can get that ad-free, but the Discord access is where it's at, active in there. If you're active in there, by the way, if you're part of the Everydayer Club, just tag me in things because that's the best way I can see things. Don't always just get notifications, but I try to be in there anyway. But answering your questions a little bit more unfiltered, telling you a little bit more of like, hey, someone asked a question that I've been very meh about on the show, you know, in terms of like telling you on the show and there behind the paywall, I'm telling you exactly what I heard. Exactly. So that's $5 a month or $50 a year to join the Everydayer Club. Go to lockedonwolverines.supercast.com or check the show notes for more. All right, upsides and downsides of this staff. Let's get into that. Upsides, I think it's interesting. Actually, let's start with the downsides because we've already kind of talked things up. Let's start down and go up. Number one, I would have liked to have seen a little bit of that more academic institutional diversity is the best way I can put that. I'd like to see more top guys from other schools. Now, I understand, like, okay, Jason Beck had his year at Utah. You wanted to bring him. Jay Hill, phenomenal at BYU. I get it. But, like, you know, the whole offensive side of the ball minus Alford is essentially Utah, which is fine because how good the offense was last year. You want to roll with what you got. You want to roll with what you know. You know that these guys can do more with less and everything. But, like, just the general, like, all right, we've got this guy from Utah, this guy from BYU, this guy from Utah, this guy from BYU. I would have liked to have seen just a little bit more in terms of like, I'm like, hey, now I'm at Michigan. I'm going to go and just steal away like the guy who's considered the best of the best wherever. Especially because I know that as far as the money that's provided here, that's allocated here, it's like, it's I don't know the numbers. I'm not going to pretend like I do, but I know it's like an unreal number. It's like, go and get the best of the best. And I don't know that that's necessarily the case, but maybe it is. I don't know. And again, I understand with Whittingham, it's like this guy's been doing this for 21 years as a head coach. He knows what he's doing. But still, I would like a few more splash hires in terms of like position coaches and things of that nature. And it's with some things like I wonder with like, is Gennaro Guilford an upgrade on Lamar Morgan? I don't know. I saw some people on some of the message boards last week saying like, you know, if that is, you know, like I tried to tell you. Conversation I had with a high ranking Michigan coach, just to quantify that. Talking about the defensive backs room going into the year this last year. They're like, Lamar's babysitting. Okay. Like there's a lot of immaturity in that group. I mean, you could see that even just with the way they played and the way they acted and things of that nature. Right. And some people on the message boards were like, well, isn't that his job? Like, whatever. But like the thing is, the collection, it's not his. He does recruit the people he's supposed to recruit, but like a lot of those directives came from the former head coach, right? So like, hey, we're going to go get this guy. I've had conversations with people that have said like, like people like close to it in Michigan that are, more in touch with the, within the administration that are a part of bringing people to campus and everything, being like, I don't know about this. Just some of the guys that were on the team or they were looking at and stuff like that. Like, don't know if that's a culture fit. So it's actually kind of beyond the job, and it kind of made it so it was very difficult for him to kind of do a lot of things. But he's such a plus recruiter, and he was such a you could see guys mostly getting better. So like to me, like that's kind of a wash, and to some degree, I would rather have him come back as a holdover than move to someone else. But maybe fresh eyes helps. I don't know. But in terms of those are really my downsides. Like, they do more with less. We've seen it. Can they do it in Ann Arbor? That's a big question. You would like to see, a lot of these guys have track records. So it's like, okay, their track record's really good on the other side of the country. Then I think that's fine. They need a cleansing here. Like I've been saying, they need an exorcism. I think, though, that the other thing is the upside here is that they have done it. Like, we've seen these guys capable. We've seen these guys out there taking 3-stars and making them NFL draft type prospects. We've seen them being able to win a lot of games big over the years at their different places, right? Like BYU was on the cusp of the college football playoff. Utah was right there as well. Didn't make it in, but like, they essentially both teams lost to, like, BYU lost to Texas Tech twice. Utah lost to Texas Tech, right? Like the teams that ended up being in the playoff. So to see a situation here where these guys can now try to do more with more, because that's long been the thing. Michigan coaches for a while now have not necessarily maximized the ability of the 5-stars. They've done really well with the lower 4-stars, the medium 4-stars, and certainly the 3-stars. So now you've got guys that you hope that now that they are on, now that these guys have done it with the 3-stars, can that become that situation where they do it with the higher level guys? I don't know. We'll see that. So we're kind of leaning into some of the questions and everything, but what would I have done differently? I mean, I kind of covered that a little bit. Essentially, but I think that this is a very solid staff. So anyway, let's continue on with kind of more of what I've done differently, and I guess more so just kind of breaking everything down. But since I kind of shot my wad and ended up with a mess on my hands, that's an Arrested Development quote, by the way. I shouldn't have said it. Anyway, that was the Tobias quote. All right, let's move on. Let's do so here in just a moment. But before we do, Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better every Friday night. Before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app right before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern to become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour always brings something new, boost, bonuses, and surprises. It's easy to check the weekly special before tip-off and make a move before the window closes. The timing is perfect right before games, right before the weekend starts. It adds an extra energy to Friday night basketball without overthinking it. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour, only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. I tell you what, it's good to be back in the studio, be back home. I loved being in Orlando for the week. Apologies for, I took Friday off. Obviously we didn't, Thursday and Friday. Thursday, just kind of was feeling really worn down, not feeling very good. Field turf allergy. I'd been fighting off. Every media member pretty much was sick. And I was fighting it off, decided to kind of rest, see some friends I don't normally get to see that were in from out of town as well, despite that. And Friday was a travel day. We got delayed multiple times. So the idea of getting a show done when I got home didn't really happen because I didn't get home until well after midnight. Just due to all the delays. But and then we were going to do some on the weekend, and I just slept pretty much all day Saturday. Yes, week long and all that. So hence we're doubling up today to kind of make up for it. We'll double up where we can because there's a lot to get into this week with just a lot of the changes that are happening around the program. I mean, and some of the things, even like Kyle Whittingham was on Wake Up Barstool today and had some interesting things to say, right? Like we're learning a lot of stuff here. So ultimately what I would have done differently, I kind of already covered as far as like the staff. I would have looked more towards, bringing in a lot of those same guys, but maybe just sprinkling in some others. And again, like people always ask, like, what quarterbacks coach would you go get? I'm not sitting there paying like super close attention to every quarterbacks coach out there. But, and I think though, with this particular situation, I think, with what Devin Dampier was able to do for Utah, I think that, and Jason Beck, I think Coy Detmer Jr. is like the right guy for that, right? Should be able to maximize Bryce in a lot of ways. But at the same time, like, you kind of sit there and think like, okay, I'm inheriting. If all goes to plan, which it sounds like it's going to, based off of what Whittingham had to say on Wake Up Barstool today, as far as Bryce Underwood staying. I've never really had a doubt that he was going to go anywhere, by the way. You maybe look at it and say, maybe we leave you in Salt Lake City and go and get like the best, highest name possible, like some kind of more known guru. Just to put the icing on top, just to like make sure, right? Like I think they did that in some cases, going out and getting Hagans from Penn State. Maybe not like like again, well respected from his time at Virginia in particular. But I would have swung for the fences a little bit more than Whittingham did. That's not to say that this isn't going to be an extremely good coaching staff. I know people are hyped right now. I'm kind of playing wait and see a little bit. That's kind of where I'm at. Like, I think like, okay, this looks great on paper. Could have looked better in my opinion. But it's certainly, here's the other part of it though. For the most part, pretty much almost across the board, I think Guilford being kind of a wash with Lamar Morgan, I think I would take pretty much everybody over what they had. And so I think with that, like, okay, then what are we talking about here? Like Jason Beck over Chip Lindsey. Yeah, I would definitely take that. I thought and that's not a knock on Chip Lindsey. I thought Lindsey did about as good a job as he could with the constraints he had and everything from the youth and the experience to being handicapped in games like the Ohio State game, right? Like I think he did about as good as he could, but I had kind of also heard that, wasn't as hands-on with Bryce Underwood as he could have been, and that was kind of a problem. Having Coy Detmer Jr. over Josh Synagoga, this is not a knock on Josh Synagoga. I just think that's an upgrade, right? Micah Simon over Ron Bellamy, same deal. Now, maybe you lose a bit in recruiting the Detroit area and all of that, but I think that's an upgrade, right? Like you can do this with everybody, pretty much. I don't know about Alex Whittingham because he was a little bit more of a, behind the scenes guy, a little bit at Kansas City. Is he an upgrade on Brian Jean-Marie? But like, I wasn't particularly impressed with Brian Jean-Marie and what he was able to do. As much as like Wink Martindale always sung his praises very publicly and like said, this is the only linebackers coach I've liked. I felt like the linebackers coaches they had before, Chris Partridge, George Hilo, got better production in my opinion. So, maybe I'm wrong. But now it's like, okay, at least it's probably a wash. Maybe it's probably better coming from the NFL and all of that. So I think that you can look like top to bottom, like, maybe, Jay Hill's numbers are relatively similar to Wink Martindale's, but he wasn't playing with as stacked a deck as Wink Martindale was either. So with that, it's like, okay, I think that, you look at where each is. This is a serious staff. Silly season is over, folks. It's over. So now it's time to be able to maximize what they have, what they're capable of, and get them back to, like Jake Wardera said last week, And I know he's in the transfer portal, but he was like, this is a staff that's coming in and saying we're going to instill discipline. And he said it is needed. It has been needed. We do not have the discipline that we should. I think that this is the type of staff that will do that. And I don't think that there's going to be a lot of leash or rope for a lot of these guys where there maybe was to some degree. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see just kind of how this all meshes and gels and all of that kind of stuff. All right, that's going to do it for show number 1. If you're looking for transfer portal and all of that discussion, we're going to get into that in a separate show. You can find that wherever you get your podcast, and you can find me, if you're watching, wearing the same clothes because we're just literally taping it immediately after this. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. We will talk to you again soon. Peace.